Alright. Hear me out. This is So Says Mr. Thunder. I am Mr. Thunder, and today is Monday, January 8th, 2024. That's right. It's 2024. So, Happy New Year, right? For those of you, this is your first time coming to the podcast. Thank you. Somehow you heard about it, and I'm just glad you're here. For those of you who have been returning or are returning, I really, really appreciate you because I believe that if it wasn't for you all, this would not be possible, and 2024 wouldn't be as bright as I believe it's gonna be. So 2024 is a new year. You know what I'm saying? It's a year of change. I know here in Houston, we had a change of a mayor, right? Things are changing in the government locally. So there's some things that are going on that, are dictating how, you know, people are going to move from this day forward or this year forward. So that's exciting, depending on what, you know what I'm saying, angle you want to look at it. Something that's going to affect all of us is the change of presidents. There's going to be a new president this year. So that's interesting. If anybody who's been paying attention to what's going on, it's definitely could go in many, many directions. But I'm not a person that is a get out and vote person, but I'm also a person who pays attention to what's going on, and knowing is half the battle, as they say in G.I. Joe. And there's a lot of things going on in this world, but just the one thing that I do know is things are changing. Things are changing. We've had some shakeups at the end of the year, the beginning of the year. One of the biggest shakeups that have happened has been the Cat Williams interview, or a conversation, I should say, because that's really what it was. It was a conversation on Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay, which the more and more I listen to it, the more and more I realize that it's not a podcast. It's like a mini talk show for people who like to get stuff off their chest. So that's pretty cool. So just, make what you will of that, but maybe on another day we'll have a conversation about the things that went on. So because it seems to be a lot of conversation going on about it. I mean, it's been running for about a week now, so that's definitely interesting. But today I want to talk about something that I kind of have gone into the new year with, as not so much a New Year's resolution, but a New Year reflection. And as you remember, I talk about the format, and going from clarity to reflection, self-reflection to decision, from decision to living in it and finding the joy in it, and repeat. 2024 right now is a moment for me of reflection. I think a lot of people are in a moment of reflection. They're just trying to recognize, what's going on in their lives and how to proceed. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the new year is usually the barometer that people use to gauge how they want to proceed in those decisions. So today, I just want to talk about something that I've been putting together as far as how I'm going to approach the new year. And I'll call it recognizing repeat offenders and then prosecuting accordingly. Again, recognizing repeat offenders and prosecuting accordingly. Now, the mayor, Houston has, there's a big thing going on where people are getting bonded out, of jail and committing crimes and murders and things like that. They're repeat offenders, and the prosecution for that is really a slap on the hand. And you got to be paying attention to, what's going on in this world locally to even see that. But this mayor coming in has vowed to recognize repeat offenders and prosecute accordingly, making sure that violent offenders are not out on the streets of Houston. So that'll be interesting to watch. And then also recognizing how finances and things like that have been mishandled in the government, and all that boring stuff. But I say that to say the year changed. He's recognizing something. The mayor is recognizing that the government isn't what it's supposed to be or what it promised to be based upon former presidents and leaders and things like that. But they're recognizing these repeat offenders, and then they're prosecuting them accordingly, and things are changing. So for me, right, what do I recognize? I recognize the things that I can control and the things that I can't control. And in that, recognizing my repeat offenders, right? In every aspect of my life, whether it be my kids, my job, my family, or my health, just recognizing things that I have allowed to be repeat offenders in my life, and giving them a slap on the wrist by not handling or prosecuting them accordingly. What do I mean by that? Like my kids, right? My kids, good kids. I love my kids. They're the joy of my life and the pain in my ass. But they're the reason why I live, if that makes sense, right? But one thing I've had to realize in the 27 years of having children, my oldest being 26, about to be 27, and then my other one, about to be 21 this year. Recognizing that these kids, they're just they're gonna be who they want to be. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I think. Doesn't matter what I feel should be happening for them. Again, things I can control and not control. I'm recognizing the repeat offenders in this situation have been the things that I've continuously revisited, thinking that things were going to change. The insanity of it, believing that me being a parent should drive some type of change or drive some type of direction, when the reality is that you do your best to guide them and help them, but they're going to do what they want to do anyway. So learning how to recognize the ability to control what you can only control is the prosecution that you put on yourself, right? For me, I recognize, my daughter specifically, she's going to do what she want to do. So why am I going to stress myself out trying to control that repeat offender, rather than I can just lock it up and put it away and say, its sentence is whatever it turns out to be. I have nothing to do with that anymore, right? My job, your job is always going to be your job, right? It's your responsibility to be the best at what you do and make sure that you're presenting and producing a product that is reflective of your work. Now, sometimes we feel like that's all we need to be recognized, and we feel like, we may have been missed on a promotion, or we feel like, I deserve recognition. But really, our job is our job. There's nothing that's going to change that. And the only thing that you can change is the direction that you go in, by either doing extra or switching course, or switching careers, whatever it is. These are things that you do have control over. Now, what you don't have control over is how people or not people, your job is going to perceive you in your current role, because your job is always going to be your job. So recognize the repeat offenders in there so that you can focus on the prosecution accordingly to go on to the next thing that you're trying to accomplish, rather than steady revisiting something. So the little things, right? Like, so I know and I realize in my career, it's time to, dive into the books and look up education and become well versed on something that matters when it comes to my career. So that's something I need to do, rather than just continuously being a repeat offender of my hard work dictates what I'm supposed to be worth and how I'm supposed to feel. And then family is the most important thing because it's what you make it, right? What I mean by that is family is always going to be the people that you surround yourself with, the influence that you have in their lives, and vice versa, because you become relevant. Now, you're either the leader of the pack or you're a part of the pack, but nobody's a follower, right? And I think a lot of times we, as have families, we believe that family is supposed to be family. Blood is thicker than water, and things like that. But then you come to realize that the reality is your job is to create a family for yourself. And expecting family members specifically, brothers, sisters, cousins, mothers, uncles, fathers, aunties, all that stuff, expecting them to, act accordingly, but you allow them to be repeat offenders in things that do not progress what a family is supposed to reflect. You have control of that. You can control who you associate with. You can control who you see, who you spend time with. You can regulate the time of visit. The prosecution should be according to what you feel that repeat offender has created in your life, and being able to move on. So these are things that I'll talk about in this particular podcast today of what I see when I'm in a moment of the format where I'm in reflection and I see a year of change, and being able to recognize repeat offenders and prosecute accordingly is what I like to do. And for me personally, overall, I have repeated offending my gift or ability or calling, as you should say, or as they say, when it comes to what I'm supposed to be doing and what I've been put on this world, on this earth to do. So my prosecution is that I am no longer making any excuses for lack of progress, and I am sentencing myself to continue to seek counsel and make connections with those who are able to get me to the next level and provide me with insight that allows me to get to the point where I make a decision and I start the process of living in it and finding the joy all over again. Have you recognized your repeat offenders? Are you ready to prosecute accordingly? This is the question that I pose to you in 2024. Are you looking for a change? We know that it doesn't have to be a resolution because resolutions always get broke. But what doesn't get broke is a promise, and a promise that you make to yourself to recognize your repeat offenders and then prosecute accordingly, because it's time for change. What is your campaign? What are you voting for? And what would you like to see yourself be in the next 12 months so that 2025 you can say, I did it. I made a change, and I refuse to let repeat offenders hinder my success, so I am going to prosecute them accordingly. This has been So Says Mr. Thunder. I'm Mr. Thunder, and I'm so glad that you made it here. I'm a Native American of this country, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for supporting me on this journey and just taking a little time to listen to, what God has put upon my heart. With that being said, I did talk about getting on camera and doing these things. So I did reach out to that. So be stay tuned for that. So I'm excited. I got a meeting this week about it. I got a couple other things in the mix that I'm working on, and I'm definitely still interested in feedback. So whatever you have for me, whatever you like to share, if there's something that you just want to talk about, you can reach me on Instagram at So Says Mr. Thunder. I can be found on all podcast platforms. This one specifically is Spreaker. But if you have Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, numerous ones, YouTube, you find me on YouTube. Either way, I want to hear what you got to say. And remember, 10 minutes of your best only takes a conversation that I'm willing to have. So join me next time. I appreciate you. This has been So Says Mr. Thunder. I'm Mr. Thunder, and I'm a Native American of this country. And a damn thing you can do about it. Until next time, I'll holla. Peace.